bring it through fast raps and critical stats, analytical slap. I'm hitting you smack, I'm sticking you.
The 25 millimeter, the 40 millimeter. Retake the sentence.
Get back, hit that bitch, I'm a rough neck. Get dough back, hold the price of success. Do they suck? Yes, I think they better let it go. Side of your war, baby. Welcome to the murder show.
Hi, it's the Great Unclean One, host of Breakup Gaming Society, welcoming you to episode 85 from beneath a pile of Marie Callender's chicken pot pie tins and beer bottles. Did you forget about me while I dreamt in this heap? I'm back, and here's what we're going to do. Drink of the week. Our chief mixologist, Skurt Vonnegut, grants you a pass from listening to me finding new ways to describe my bourbon and stout winter diet. He mixes fancy drinks, you see, and drinks them with fancy people. We'll feature one called Follow the Black Rabbit. Game of the week. I sketch out 10 indelible scenes from the board game table on 2024. It'll be like visiting an old lover in a sanitarium. Track of the week. More like Craig Mack of the week. We're going to pound on the ground when we get down. So let us get down. Let us get down.
I kicked it, come on. You couldn't bang with this if your name was Gang Kong.
Drink of the week. Let us set down our rustic bachelor drinking songs and turn now in our alcoholic hymnals to the book of Skurt Vonnegut, Breakup Gaming Society's chief mixologist. Far, far north of Starkville, in a strange land where people bathe and have money, he attended a holiday party during which an astonishing array of cocktails were on offer. He sent me an image of the drink menu from that night. I looked at it and felt like a wino in an alley, peeking in on a lavish backyard party, trying to put together enough ingredients for even a few of these would impoverish me. There was the seasonal affective disorder, the rosemary tuck, an amaretto sour, the costume party, the division bell, the Grinch, another one called Follow the Black Rabbit, and a few low or no alcohol options for some reason. Skurt posts like a leftist troll, but he drinks like a junior partner at Bain Capital. Which of these, I asked, was his favorite of the evening? With no hesitation, he tells me it was Follow the Black Rabbit, which contains the following ingredients. 2 ounces of gin, 3/4 ounce of Fernet Branca, 3/4 ounce orange juice, 1/2 ounce lemon juice, and lastly, 3/4 ounces of maple syrup. Yum. So here's the instructions. It doesn't look that hard. You put all that shit into a shaker with ice, then you shake it. The instructions next call for you to double strain it into a highball glass and then garnish it with an orange swath. I'll leave it up to you as to what constitutes a swath of orange. In the picture, it looked pretty big. More like a tranche of orange, but maybe this is technical bartending terminology. Anyway, he noted the party version was actually made with a mint Fernet instead of regular Fernet Branca. And he said the orange and mint worked together marvelously, describing it as surprising and delicious. I have no doubt it is. Skurt is also a D&D player and a savage at heart, so he also recently indulged me in the second of my D&D one-room sessions. It's a bit. The setup is that I'm a hostile GM who not only dislikes D&D, but doesn't know how to play it and who just wants to murder the player character in a few minutes. He took to it like a creature in native water, and the session write-up, along with the illustrative screen caps of our Discord session, is now on the blog if you like violence. So, hats off to Skurt, his excellent taste in cocktails, and his sportsmanship as an armored villain dismembered his character for no good reason. Next up, the 10 most indelible board game scenes from my 2024.
I kicked it, come on. You couldn't bang with this if your name was Gang Kong.
Presented here, an unranked collection of 10 scenes I can't forget from the games I played most, solo or with others, in 2024. 1. Star Wars Outer Rim. Never tell Rygar about the odds. The setting? The Outer Rim, where the Empire's grip is loose enough that the Syndicates, Hutt, and Rebels can effectively jockey for pockets of control. It's a good place to make one's fortune. The players, it was the Don as Han Solo, myself as Ketsu, and Rygar as Dr. Afra. It's our first ever play, our first few turns. Ryan attempts the Kessel Run job almost immediately. No, the Kessel Run is supposed to be hard, with several layers of skill checks. I try to explain this to Rygar. He's not hearing it. He simply picks up the 8-sided dice and starts passing the checks. He hits the third one in a row, and I'm still trying to tell him about ways he can increase his odds of passing. I'm going to crit it, he says, and does. He had to have get there's only one crit symbol on each die, so it's kind of a long shot, but he just picked it up. It was only the fourth turn or so, and he had just run away with the game. He pushed all his chips on the table in the opening sequence and won. We were playing catch-up after that. I cussed him out. So you can hear the whole story, along with my solo and multiplayer review of this game in episode 80. It's called Star Wars Outer Rim and a nice glass of Farmer's Punch. 2. Project L. Joe serves up some savory Italian understatement. So my homie Joe down at the game shop, who I nicknamed Project J because he taught me this game, is doing his usual thing at Project L, which is a really inviting and addictive affair where you draft bright plastic polyominoes to fill up scoring boards of various values. Joe is a machine at this. I am a mere laborer, painstakingly crafting a few scoring boards across the table from Joe's gleaming point factory. Now, this loss he just handed me is worse than the others. I mean, how did I somehow get worse at the game since he first taught it to me at the beginning of summer? A 4-point gap is usually a pretty resounding win, but I have just posted a score of 18 to Joe's 29. Now, Joe is not sparing with his editorializing during a game, but to his credit, he also doesn't gloat. When I announced my score, the worst loss I've ever taken since we started laying tiles, he is impassive. It barely registers on his face, and he sighs a bit, pauses, and says, "That's a spicy meatball." We both knew I just got gutted. That's all that had to be said. I finally bought a copy of this game for myself down at Frontier Geeks, so look for a proper review sometime in 2025 in a Game of the Week segment, and hopefully an end to the double-digit losses. And if not that, the game plays solo with an Otoma system, which I've set up this morning with my morning coffee. So maybe if, playing Joe hurts my self-esteem too much, I'll report more on the solo games. 3. Final Girl, Madness in the Dark. The wicked bitch is dead. It's my 15th attempt to beat the Ratchet Lady in the halls of Wolf Asylum, playing as Veronica, a teen who must do what we expect all horror leads to do. Get her head together, save some of her friends, find a weapon, and fight back all on her own. Except this movie never seems to materialize. I have to yell, "Cut!" like 15 times in a row, because the Ratchet Lady and her little minions are slicing Veronica to ribbons on every attempt. Until I get some early breaks and get the right weapon early and start swinging it liberally. Veronica clobbers her way down several hallways, stalking the Ratchet Lady and taking every opportunity she can to mount big attacks. Veronica tracks her down and kills her in the doctor's office, and my living room fills with confetti. I'm sprinting up and down my living room, and I'm yelling. It's the most vindicating, elusive solo win of the year, which you can hear about in more detail in episode 83, entitled Dark Colorado Beers and Rich-Tasting Board Game Replays. 4. Survive, Escape from Atlantis. The sharks eat all the leftovers. This is currently the game down at Frontier Geeks, along with its successor title called just Survive the Island, which, little note here from my local friends in Trinidad, Colorado, it's now in stock down at the shop, and you should get it if you like chaotic fun by the barrelful. Our new friends, Bethany and David, put this one in front of us after we stuffed ourselves on Thanksgiving, and what a hoot we had trying to pilot people off an island that's about to get broiled by emergent volcanoes. There's a massive scramble for the boats as you take turns manipulating sea monsters and kaijus and sharks to mess up everybody else's escape plans. It's simply a blast that roused me from a deep food coma and has turned into our go-to for quick, fun, evocative take-that adventures. I went into it in more detail in episode 84, called Enough Thanksgiving Board Games to Make You Puke. Check it out. It was a good day. 5. Vale of Eternity. The Dawn activates his sleeper cells. Every time I think this game, I have it about surveyed. I've taken my measure of it. There's some new twist and how to summon and score the pretty monsters on the cards. Up and bites me in a new place. Thanksgiving Eve. My old high school buddy Hurricane 75 visited, and we sat down for a game with the Dawn down at the game shop. Now, the Dawn sat and did almost nothing for 6 turns, and then unveiled an interlocking scoring combo of creatures and effects that turned him from a speck in the rearview mirror to a faint glimmer on the horizon, which is to say, Vale of Eternity keeps proving its value and showing me new facets months after I thought I'd seen all its tricks. I said last summer that the card pool needs to grow, which it is with the Artifacts expansion, but it was nice seeing that, the one that comes just with the base game is still plenty to chew on. It keeps popping up on the year-end roundups of other board game bloggers and YouTubers I follow, so that testifies to its sticking power. I talked about Vale of Eternity in some detail back in episode 79, called After the Board Games of Summer Are Gone, if you'd like to give it a listen. 6. Thunderbolt Apache Leader. Laughing and eating in a C-130. You can get a squadron shot to pieces really quick in Thunderbolt Apache Leader, which is the most rules-intensive thing I've played the most in 2024. It absolutely rivets me. When I'm in the middle of a campaign, everything else vanishes to the margins. It's that engrossing. By the time of my spring campaigns, I'm getting the training wheels off, branching out, trying new aircraft combinations to run the missions. And I finally see what the C-130 Spectre can do after learning its special flight and attack rules. Oh my, is it destructive. I sent it out alone and I just cackled as the guns bristling from its port side, the 25mm, the 40mm, and the 105mm howitzer, just raked everything it could see with lethal fire. I whooped as I saw that drawing damage markers from ground fire didn't bring the sweaty apprehension it usually does. That thing was so high in the air, so chock full of countermeasures that I was shrugging off the kind of thick return fire that, had been mincing my smaller craft for weeks. I had to mop up pieces of breakfast from the terrain tiles after I was done taunting the enemy elements across whose faces I had just drug a giant veined dong. Which felt good after losing so many games of cat and mouse with smaller craft. But for better or worse, this game is my muse. Over at the blog at breakupgamingsociety.com, you'll find a 4-post blog series about my learning experiences and the first of a new series called Learning Thunderbolt Apache Leader and Improving Commander's Notebook, where I mine the game for every bit of comedy and drama I can as I develop myself into an intermediate player. Every time those primary weapons start chattering, my keyboard lights up too. Sometimes I beat myself up because I never captured those fiction ideas or worked with my many discarded essays, but I feel like this game gave me occasion to do my best writing of the year. Check out the blog and tell me if you agree. 7. Cascadia Solo. Eating shit on Reddit after my fake high score. Playing Cascadia, a beautifully executed nature tile-laying game, was my extended palate cleanser after Thunderbolt Apache Leader. I played it all summer, chasing a rating from the rulebook. When you're playing solo, if you hit a 110-point game, you earn the Ascended ranking. I would play the thing half of every morning, racking up 105s, 106s, even a 109. But I never hit the 110. Until one morning, I picked up my cup of coffee and just made those patterns of habitat tiles and animal tokens dance like I could see the mind of the creator in a perfect clockwork universe. I'd scored over 130 points. I take a pic and post it later on the Reddit solo board gaming community to brag about it. And it's not until I see the picture on the thread that the explanation for the stratospheric score becomes clear. I miscounted my tile supply at the beginning for the solo variant, Then I hypnotized myself and took several extra turns. When you've granted yourself extra tiles and animals, there's all kinds of amazing scores you can hit. I had to walk it back in front of everyone on the thread. Luckily, they were very nice about it. The quest for the 110-point solo game continues. I reviewed the game in episode 79. It was the light playing, easy setup answer to the heavy thud of war that was Thunderbolt Apache Leader, and it ate a disproportionate amount of my 2024 calendar. 8. Cockroach Poker. Eating Bugs with Matthew Schnipper. Cockroach Poker is one of the best things you can own for fast-moving, funny bluffing with a deck of cards. It was an easy teach, but that's not really what this play was about. It was more about who was at the table, in this case, Matthew Schnipper of Side Dish with Schnipper, who does the most exhaustive and generous food writing and podcasting about the Colorado Springs food scene that you're going to get. He paid the Purgatoire Valley a summer visit, and I played around with him and his gal Lauren. It bolstered me to see a face from the old days. It was nice to know that Colorado Springs hasn't forgotten about me entirely. I finally had an ear for a curated valise, or is it a valise? I'm not looking it up, sorry, of observations, theories, recommendations, and complaints I've been carrying around since I moved down here. And I got to see my adopted region with new eyes when he published his excellent travelogue after his 48-hour whirlwind trip through our town. Check out a post on his Substack called Schnips Trips. Follow the Red Brick Road, 48 hours in Trinidad. It's on Side Dish with Schnipper, that's SCHNIPER.com. He published it back on August 28th, and he tells it a lot better than I do. Give him a read. 9. Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. Having my own weapons turned against me. I doubt I'll ever have another game that will transfix and possess me like Warhammer 40,000 Conquest did. It gave me everything I wanted. A thematic and thrilling way to have battles in the W40K universe without having to buy codexes and minis and take part in the rest of the economically sordid gavage of the Games Workshop assembly line. For 4 years, I had a small group who loved it as much as I did, and they all had one thing in common. They were former Magic the Gathering guys who just left the game behind for various reasons and who loved the Conquest application of theme or just got sick of Magic and its burgeoning supply of cards and conditions. For about 45 minutes, I found another kid like that down here in Trinidad, a former competitive Magic player who, not even done with his undergrad studies, had more or less set the game down. He didn't know anything about Conquest or its theme or how well the theme manifests in the game's warlord-driven system, but he liked the idea of a saner, smaller card pool. I played him once. He murdered me in that little pool. When I teach this game, an event that gets more rare with every year, I usually hand the neophyte my orc deck built around a slugger named Nozdreg from the Bad Moons clan. The scheme is straightforward and strong, and within 3 turns, he was playing it smarter than I ever had, especially impressive considering you also have to measure which of 5 planets you want to invest your resources in, because the game models key engagements of a running battle for supremacy in a 10-planet sector tucked away in Warhammer 40K's sprawling, ultra-violent, and cynical expanse. He grasped the nuances of the orc cards with frightening speed. Outplayed me badly on the planet strategy, too. It was breathtaking. Beheaded by my own pupil in minutes flat. And that would be the last of it, because this young swordsman returned to college not long after our match and, like a lot of young locals who have a plan, has no immediate reasons to return. Hell of a game, though. Good job, youngster. 10. Space Hulk Death Angel. The psychic attack heard round the world. No fewer than 12 Blood Angel Terminators are arrayed in a column down the table, marching into the pitiless jumble of a Space Hulk filled with cunning, agile Gene-Stealer aliens. I'm teaching the game to Rygar and the Dawn, so I'm braced for early catastrophe as they learn the nuances of how to maneuver and shoot and all that bulky relic warplate. It doesn't take long. A member of my squad, Brother Adrian, gets flanked by a Xeno swarm comprising no fewer than 8 Gene-Stealer cards. It is not survivable, but then Lexiconum Calistarius, the group's battlefield psyker under the command of the Don, attacks. Now, Lexiconum Calistarius has a special ability. If he rolls a skull icon on the 6-sided die, something which you can do 50% of the time, he gets to attack again. More skulls, more attacks. The Don pitches a skull, as Calistarius' eyes turn argent and deadly Empyrean power incinerates the first band of gene stealers, bearing down on the helpless Adrian. Then he pitches another one, and another, and another, the deadly energy arcing from beast to beast. He used a special token once during the attack that gave him a reroll, but all told, he cooked the entire column of Tyranids, all 8 cards in the swarm, slumped and smoking. It was then I shouted. I shouted so loud that poor Bethany, who had just arrived and was observing the action, buckled in her chair. A table full of Magic players right next to us all looked up in alarm. Rygar told me that was my last bit of yelling for the night, which was a self-solving problem, as I have never seen an attack like that in my 14 years of playing this game and had no chance of seeing another one that night. We folded up the cards and started a different game that would include David and Bethany because Rygar is a good host and not a hyper-fixated, drunken teenager. I would have let those poor people sit there for an hour while we played that out. Better judgment and manners prevailed, but I saw it. The most legendary close-quarters attack ever made in service to the Emperor and Sanguinius. I was on that ship and I saw it, and I know what it means, and maybe now you do too. So, question for you, my listener. What was the most singular scene that materialized on your game table in 2024? If something unforgettable now forms in your mind's eye, hit me up on the Breakup Gaming Society contact page and shoot me a note about it. I may read it on a future episode or feature it on the blog. You have the podium, should you want to seize it. Next up, Track of the Week. So now that Sean Combs' decades of sexual predation completes the picture of a justifiably hated and predatory music mogul, I want to snatch one of Bad Boy Label's first and brightest jewels out from under his shadow, Craig Mack. I'm not going to blow anybody's minds with this pull, but the rhymes on Get Down, his other heavy rotation cut from the debut after the Flavor in Your Ear became a hit, it just gets better every time I hear them. You know, I bought his debut LP, which is I think called Project Funk the World, on tape because I liked the dreamily confident minimalism of Flavor in Your Ear. I kept playing it because of Get Down, and I still do.
I'm incredible, better eat the vegetable, cuz I does what I do. I fake the roof off a soft sucker, super smacking, knocking, full effect, mic check, 1, 2.
There's an incredible sense of artistry and confidence inside that deceptively lazy style. 30 years of exploration since, and I still haven't heard anyone quite like him. Tightly patterned schemes. He's too gifted to be bothered with that.
The max like super N10. Burning MCs leaves them found sick. See, I'm like what you call king of yes, y'all. My style Rick sick, I mean real sick. Shit's thick. I come with the ammo, the real whammo, slammo, step the Dobby dollar. And always the quick. Let's warm up the hot plate. I'm changing fate from the net down my casket. My rap loves the alienate.
Some of his mic boasting is directly informed by the yabbida-dabbida, yippity-skippity rhyming for rhyme's sake that was the hallmark of so many of his recent predecessors, but he's got something else. He doesn't rely on tempo and energy to mask the lyrical deficits of free association bars. He stitches them together instead with insanely confident pauses and a laid-back meter that makes his "I'm going to end your life with this mic" posture smolder menacingly. He keeps time and keeps a thought while discarding a scheme for a few internal rhymes, always slinking toward you with a dismissive smirk, wearing futuristic predator skin. He simply is what so many rappers are trying to mean.
I ain't met who can hang. If you're testing in your lesson, got me dressing for your funeral session. Man, it won't even matter no more. Craig and I just won the war. My style was definite to take you over. Have you sitting looking over, then the Ford or Chevy Nova. Why I order? Smack it down, man. I figure it's a slaughter in the world of dollars. This shit ain't nothing but a quarter. The name of the track is Get Down, so let me get down and pound up the MCs in the ground. Can I get...
He sounds like a shaman casting spells of undoing. It's 30 years later, and I'm still not tired of it. That means something. Rest in peace, Craig Mack. So there's no more show, but there is still a chance to snag my mint copy of Mysterium and or get a copy of the Breakup Gaming Society cocktail booklet. Hit the donate page to read about the booklet. Anybody who donates $10 or more gets mailed one. One person who does that before the end of January 2025, by which time President Fecal Matter and Vice President Bicycle Horn will have officially been sworn in. They will get my copy of Mysterium. Details on the blog. Why not do it today? You've spent $10 on dumber stuff than me. In the coming episodes, we start to shake off winter's grip and greet the slowly lengthening daylight. You'll hear about my explorations of Storm Above the Reich, Hadrian's Wall, and Pavlov's House, which were designed to be a sort of antidepressant, but have sat largely unlearned in a stack next to my auxiliary table because for the last month all I've wanted to do is drink, sleep, eat, and play Survive the Island. Listen as my dormant, stringy game-learning muscles slowly regain their stamina and definition. Until then, I remain your friend and host, the Great Unclean One. May you fight long and well.
Clap your hands or you tossers if you've got what it takes.
Come on.
'Cause I'm Pit Man and I'm right here to spoil all the breaks.